For many lads such as myself, there's usually a pivotal turning point in our lives. There's that exact moment where you're no longer just a kid with a random unnamed toy car, but you end up starting to name them. You end up starting to have favourite manufacturers, you end up starting to learn everything you can about cars. For some, that moment came while watching Top Gear with your dad, or maybe it's when you saw a car that just stood out among the boring grey vehicles you were used to seeing. Maybe you heard a loud engine echo throughout your estate. Maybe it was seeing a very, very cool movie by Pixar with a very, very cool scene, which even at my age I still think is really cool. I would show it, but Disney's lawyers would send me into copyright hell. But you can probably guess which scene I'm talking about. I mean, hell, the whole movie of Cars is brilliant anyway. Or maybe it was games, Gran Turismo, Need for Speed, Ridge Racer. Each one was a gateway to the world of speed and of freedom and of course identity. But for me it was a little more humble, it was a nice little blend. I remember quite distinctly in the late 90s and early 2000s flicking through Auto Trader listings with my dad, looking at the cars we would never afford. And then, when the screen was ours, we would boot up TOCA 2 touring cars. TOCA 2 is my childhood. It's something that got me straight into motorsports and it still sticks to this day. And here it is, here's my original copy. It's worn with age, true, but its box art is etched into my brain. The bold Auto Trader sponsorship always throws me back to being in the computer room with my dad. Seeing the authentic manufacturer logos and realistic promises on the back of the box was great, and you can never forget that stunning Renault Laguna, which is right on the front of the box. The very car that dominated the 1997 Touring Car Championship that had only occurred a year prior to the release of this game. Everything about it screams speed and authenticity, and it is a true little time capsule of motorsport. I must admit, TOCA 2 is still fantastic, even to this day. It had car damage, which other games like Gran Turismo did not have. The multiplayer was great, and it was, realistic. I know it's kind of hard to say now, but I need to embarrassingly admit here that when I was recording footage for this very minor TOCA segment, I ended up playing it for 2.5 hours. Yeah, it's still very fun. Now, I would like to sit and talk about TOCA some more, but that's not why you're here. You're here because you, like myself, would not mind reliving the glory days of late 90s and early 2000s racing and rally games like TOCA, like Colin McRae, and like Gran Turismo. However, we want that modern touch, and that led me straight to Old School Rally on Steam, which has me absolutely hooked. Now, Old School Rally has been available in early access since the 18th of July 2024, but I was only made aware of its existence recently thanks to it coming on PlayStation. To put simply, Old School Rally is, as they say, a nostalgic racing game that combines the charm of classic retro-style visuals with the thrill of international rally competitions. Its main selling point is its fast-paced and arcade-style gameplay with an emphasis on driving skill, carefully crafted retro visuals which are reminiscent of the late 90s games like I mentioned previously, variety of rally tracks from around the globe, and a large, diverse lineup of rally cars inspired by legends of the past with unique characteristics and features. Now, for obvious reasons, they can't put branded names in here, but just from looking at it, you can sort of tell which car's meant to be what. So, without further ado, let's do a lovely deep dive into Old School Rally and see if this game is worth your time.
Easy left.
The presentation is clearly what this game's primary selling point is. After all, I feel like late 90s and early 2000s PlayStation 1 graphical games are all the rage recently. We're seeing first-person shooters and horror games with this style of genre absolutely litter Steam, and personally I'm all for it. I really like this style. It's nostalgic, it's warm and cozy, but if you're clever, you can do some seriously talented stuff with it. It's not as restrictive as it once was. For me, the graphics are absolutely stunning. As mentioned in the intro, you can see the inspiration from Colin McRae and even TOCA. The graphics are very pleasant and they do hit that fine line between pixelated jagginess and easy to comprehend visuals. This is actually something which many 90s inspired PlayStation 1 games drop the ball on. They either make it too pixelated or they make it too easy to comprehend, whereas I feel like with this one, it just seems to work really well. There's also a multitude of graphical options as well, which let you reduce the effect or enhance the effect. Even a CRT monitor mode is included, which is great. Now, you may notice many cars being covered. Well, that's because recently the game actually got a DMCA strike. Now, the developer actually saw several 3D models from Sketchfab under a Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 license, and then they got permission from the uploader. However, an unexpected claimant, someone else, submitted a DMCA takedown alleging ownership of those same models. As you can imagine, this is very confusing when you've got permission from one person and then another person crawls on the woodwork saying it's their models, so as per policy, Steam actually removed the game. This has been amended, and the dev is actually currently searching for alternate models, to my knowledge. However, that means currently there's a lot of cars missing, which is quite a shame. You can actually also make your own liveries too, which is a bonus for you budding graphical designers out there, and there's a functional workshop too, where you can download other people's creations. Though for me, anyway, this seems to work only half the time. Yeah, see, when I was downloading these, they just weren't applying correctly. I mean, here's one I'm trying to put on the Subaru, and glitched completely. The only one I can get working is for the Octavia, but any other one I try to do, it just comes out as a mess. So I'm not sure if this is a glitch currently, or if there's been a bug. This seems to have worked in the past. I'm sure it'll get patched, but it's something to keep in mind. Overall, the presentation is what drew me into this game initially. It is absolutely gorgeous to look at. But what sold me on this game was the gameplay.
Medium right. Checkpoint, hard left.
Now I will say this very bluntly, this is not a perfect simulation. This is more of a mix between Colin McRae and Sega Rally. You've got some simulation effects, but a lot of it is arcadey, and you need to get used to how the game handles that. When I first gave this game a go, I was doing absolutely horrendously, and 2 hours later I still am doing absolutely horrendously, however not as horrendous as I once was. You start to pick up quite quickly how to make the right turns, how to interpret the commands given, and how to handle the different terrain and weather. Do not get me wrong, it is far from easy at the beginning, but you eventually get into a great rhythm and become one with the car. It reminded me of when I first started to make turns correctly on TOCA and when I was starting to claim those victories for the first time. It was a pure dopamine hit. I still can't put into words how happy I get when I beat my own ghost in time trial mode, even if part of it was mostly my fault. Currently in the game there's Rally Mode, which is the main bulk of the game and where you'll be probably spending the most time, Time Attack, and Split Screen PvP. There's also a PvE mode, but it's incredibly undeveloped and I'll explain why. So, firstly, the Rally Mode. This is where you play different set rally championships to unlock new cars, money for cars, accessories, and of course, trophies. Again, this is the main bulk of the game, and as it stands currently during the time of review, this is the only way to actually earn in-game currency and unlock new vehicles. Personally, I really enjoy them. The maps are plenty with varying distinct locations, each with their own additions to make them feel unique, and each map can have its own weather and time of day changed at random. Though you can only have rain and night separate, for example. You can't have rainy nights, which I think is a very easily fixed missed opportunity. Despite this, however, this allows for greater variety in the rally. The cars also all handle differently, and some seem to click easier than others. I had a tough time handling the the Jupiter Ram, but the Peugeot 2... the Leone D26 handles like a dream. It's a shame then that all the cars sound the exact same. It's so weird, like just minor edits to the engine noises would have made each car feel a bit more distinct. They all feel distinct when you're driving them, so why is there no edits to the sound? There's also damage models, which is incredibly fun by the way. The crashes feel weighty and the physics are stupid, but they are very fun to see. Your car does deform depending on the damage and the location too, which is very cool. Regardless, however, the rallies themselves and the bulk of the game is incredibly fun and it's incredibly addictive. The difficulty feels absolutely spot on and it's very easy to fall into the just one more mindset. There's also a daily challenge which, as the name implies, changes daily, giving you a random track and weather to test your abilities on. The time requirements, however, don't seem to change on the daily ones, so it's just the standard tracks with the standard time, which is a bit more disappointing. I'd love to see ones which are just close to impossible, that really test your strength to earn that money. So despite this, however, the game fundamentally is fantastic, but the problems do start to rear its head pretty damn quickly when you notice how tedious the grind can be. The only way to earn currency is through completing rallies, and some rallies can take upwards of 30 minutes for a very measly payout. I know this is old school rally, and I expect to be doing rallies, but this means you're going to be grinding and repeating the same rallies a lot. After 2 hours of playtime, I'd only been able to buy one car. Let's call it what it is, the Octavia, and I'm currently working towards getting the Seat. Now, I don't mind the grind, but for some reason you don't earn money from doing PvE modes, which add another racer, or time attack modes. The only way to earn it is through rallies, which have a set amount to earn. I think the game is sort of missing the trick here. It's not mixing up in terms of difficulty and modes. Why not have it so some rallies have varying weather, for example? Wind can suddenly spawn in, making you factor in the risk of some of them turns. It can suddenly start storming or snowing, which would be fantastic. If it had other races and other set times, for example, you could build rivalries with the other races. Your only real objective in these rallies is to set the time of the track, but it would be good to have a leaderboard of other times set by other races. You don't need to see them, it would just be good to assume they were there, so the world doesn't feel so alone. In this game currently, if you fail to hit the rally time, it's an instant fail, but having multiple other races could lead you to wanting to do more. Hell, you could even settle for second or third, but it would make you push for that first place. This could also lead to rivalries and eventually 1v1 racing, which you could incorporate into the rallies themselves. Or hell, just go full off the wall and have maybe 4 races at once. I know this is a rally game, but come on, it's Arcade Racer after all, why not go absolutely crazy? So the PvE mode is actually there, which is a spin-off of the split screen mode, which I'm very glad it has, by the way. But you don't earn any cash, or really anything for it. There's no real incentive to play it other than a laugh, or to get some really cool photos in the photo mode. There's no collision mode either, which is a shame, so you tend to just go through each other's car. There's no tuning, there's no upgrading cars, which is something that this game could seriously benefit from, because having an attachment to a car that you chose would be a welcome change. Now we have to remember this game is early access, but I've not been able to locate any sort of roadmap. But seriously, having these kind of elements in this game will increase the longevity tenfold. There's also a really cool collection mode where you can also spend your money. You can customize your collection by changing the background, the wallpaper, you can have a cat, you can have arcade machines, and it's also just really nice seeing the collected cars in their little model forms. I really like this actually, this is such a cool addition. But again, it takes money, and money is very hard to come by in this game. So then, in conclusion, is Old School Rally worth your time?
Easy right. Easy left. Easy right. Hairpin left.
So in summary, Old School Rally is an absolutely strikingly faithful homage to the golden age of rally games. It channels the spirit of Colin McRae, TOCA, Gran Turismo with that unique graphical style. It treads between retro fidelity and that lovely modern polish which I talked about at the beginning. The car models, while they are unlicensed, are instantly recognisable, the visual presentation's great, and with the customisable liveries and charmingly nostalgic art direction, it's seriously one of the game's strongest suits. Even with the recent hiccup of the DMCA takedown, the devs are very active, very talkative, and seem very committed. Gameplay-wise, it's a seriously tough but rewarding ride. The handling has a steep learning curve, but once you've mastered it, it's incredibly satisfying. The rally mode is the game's core, and it does it absolutely brilliantly, offering a good spread of maps, terrain, conditions, while the split screen and the time attack provide modest alternatives. Unfortunately, progression is held back by the heavy grind with limited currency sources and a somewhat underutilized PvE mode which I'd like to see better. The lack of tuning or car upgrades can make car attachment feel very hollow, and with no roadmap in sight, it's unclear if these quality of life additions will ever arrive. That said, however, the strong fundamentals, that being the driving, the tracks, the damage models, the atmosphere, and of course the cars, make for a highly enjoyable experience if you can stomach repetition. The soundtrack is excellent, and if it's not to your taste, you can choose your own. So, would I recommend Old School Rally? Absolutely, but with a major warning. If you're nostalgic for the era, appreciate the art style, grew up with these games, and enjoy the grind, then absolutely. Old School Rally is worth the spin. It's not too pricey, and it's great for what it is. Just make sure you lower your expectations a bit. Don't go in expecting a feature-complete racer just yet. It is early access, and while what's here is promising, its long-term success will depend on how the developer builds upon this fantastic foundation.
Easy left. Jump. Medium left. Left right.